Democrats are trying to hold the government hostage again with the whole funding bill bullshit. But that's okay because the Republicans actually have the numbers in the House now to handle that. So we're going to pop over here and we're going to have a look at this is ABC News. This is one of their articles. So they said it. I didn't say it. They said it. ABC News, they say the Republican-led House on Tuesday, so this is this past Tuesday, this is a little bit old, we're just starting from the beginning, okay? So the Republican-led House on Tuesday voted to pass the government funding package to end the partial shutdown. The measure, which received some bipartisan support, led with the passage of 217 to 214. It now leads to President Donald Trump desk to signature, which great, that's awesome. The measure, So the measure provided funding to the Pentagon, education, treasury, labor, and state departments through the end of the fiscal year. The bill also includes a 2-week short-term measure to keep Department of Homeland Security funded through the end of the next week. So that gave them like the week to go ahead and come into the first of February. All right, anyway. Lawmakers in both chambers who remain far apart on immigration enforcement reform have until February 13th to negotiate the deal to keep DHS funded. It is a deal. It is not received. All right. If the deal is not received and passed in both chambers, by then DHS would then end up shutting everything down, right? So the TSA, Coast Guard, Customs and Border Patrol, U.S. Secret Service, CISA, and FEMA would be impacted even though lawmakers focus in on immigration and customs enforcement reform. Our ICE operations would not be impacted after it receives $75 billion in separate funding from an already passed big, beautiful bill, right? So everyone says, no, we're going to do this because we need to stop the ICE funding. The problem is ICE is already funded and they're not actually going to be stopping anything other than they're going to stop FEMA, they're going to stop Customs and Border Patrol, they're going to stop the Coast Guard, they're going to stop TSA, which is really what they want because they're trying to get more terrorists into the country, and they're trying to stop the Trump administration from sending more terrorists out of the country. Do you see where we're actually at with this? They're going to complain, and they're going to bitch, and they're going to hide behind the ICE is Trump's Nazi Gestapo. They're going to hide behind that rhetoric. The problem is, it's nobody's actually being fooled by it, right? Because ICE is already going to be funded. So you saying that we're doing this to stop ICE funding is just completely retarded because you know damn well they already have money. What you're actually stopping is U.S. Secret Service. What you're actually stopping is FEMA. What you're actually stopping is Customs and Border Patrol, right? What you're actually stopping is the Coast Guard. What you're actually stopping is TSA, right? So like how many citizens are going to have to unfortunately lose their lives for other people to figure out that I am right about things? Definitely subscribe. Let's start this counterculture war and let's actually start winning. Let's actually start pushing and making some ground, boys and girls. Let's go. Alright, anyway, earlier, after some drama and delay, the House passed a key procedural hurdle that set up the later vote with Republican Representative Thomas Massey from Kentucky as the only no vote along all Democrats. The vote was held open for about 45 minutes as several Republicans held out on casting their votes. Republican leaders ultimately worked the holdouts to secure enough votes to advance the package. All right, so basically well, hang on. Let's just continue because I got to get to the reason why they're doing all this bullshit, right? So, House Speaker Mike Johnson, who faces an incredibly tight margin, could only afford to lose one Republican vote with all members present and voting. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and House Democratic leaders voted against the package that passed Tuesday afternoon, a deal that was negotiated by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and the White House. The agreement separated DHS funding bill. So the agreement separated a DHS funding bill from five others funding other agencies for the rest of the fiscal year. So basically, they stopped funding DHS, but everything else, great. This grants 2 weeks of extended DHS funding to negotiate Democratic demands and restrictions on ICE amid its immigration enforcement operations, including requiring agents to wear body cameras turned on and to not wear masks. So here's the problem. The last time the Democrats forced the police officers to start wearing body cameras everywhere, it ended up backfiring on them because it just showed the general public how incredibly tense and fast moving these interactions can be, and also showed that the police are not actually out there coming after anybody. They're just doing their jobs, and these people are actually just being dumb, right? So all it did was force a counter-narrative against them. The funding fight over DHS erupted in the aftermath of the death of Alex Peretti, a nurse who attacked ICE agents with a gun and ended up dying over it, boo-hoo. An ICU nurse who was killed in a shooting involving federal law enforcement. Jeffries told Johnson, so Hakeem Jeffries told Mike Johnson over the weekend that Democrats would not help Republicans expedite the funding package. Meanwhile, hardline Republicans also threatened to hold the package up in hopes of attaching an unrelated bill that would require the proof of citizenship in federal elections known as the SAVE Act. Now, that is something that they've been fighting against, and they're going to continue to fight against, because the moment that gets passed, Democrats will never win another election. So they know they're going to have to continue to fight against that, right? So, though some hardliners, including Representative Anna Paulina Luna and Tim Burchert, have backed down on their demands. So they're going to go ahead and vote to pass it, and they're not going to try and demand anything otherwise, right? So, oh boy, that's the House funding bill, and that's them trying to do that's them trying to hold the government hostage again and hold the general public's money hostage again, right? And John Fetterman doesn't like it either, apparently, and I cannot believe that we are living in a world where the voice of reason on the Democratic Party is John Fetterman, okay? So this is Fox News. Fetterman expects DHS shutdown amid partisan funding feud breaks with the Democrats on voter ID. So this is John Fetterman. Apparently he's saying that he fears that the Department of Homeland Security is going to get shut down because they're going to run out of funding for that department, and the Democrats are not going to vote to continue to fund that. So amid that partisan funding feud, he also is breaking with the Democrats on the SAVE Act, which is the voter ID thing that requires proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections, which I think is a fucking no-brainer, because why in the hell would you be able to vote in a federal election if you are not a citizen? And I don't want to hear your bullshit about how U.S. citizens are the only ones that vote in federal elections. Really? Are you sure? Because in Minnesota they had a program where they allowed legal immigrants to maintain get a actual state ID. With that state ID, they would be allowed to vote in elections because there is no distinction between that ID and anything else. Same thing happened in California, but in California they were also able to get other state-funded things like Medi-Cal and stuff. But anyway, there is an awful lot of illegal immigrants that are voting in federal elections because of this stupid legal gray area that we really need to try and get rid of. And that's the reason that the Democrats are fighting so hard against federal immigration enforcement, be it ICE or Customs and Border or otherwise, because that's the vast majority of their voter base. I read somewhere that Minnesota has already lost enough illegal immigrants that they've lost one congressional House seat. So they went from 10 to 9, and that means that the Democrats lose one House seat. So this is just where we're at. I mean, you get rid of illegals and the Democrats lose all around.
Block further funding for Homeland Security, which expires this upcoming Friday, after they would agree to fund the DHS only for 2 weeks unless changes are made to the agencies enforcing the laws against illegal immigration. We just heard from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Joining me now with reaction is Pennsylvania Democrat Senator John Fetterman, an integral member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. Senator, it's great to have you this morning. Thank you so much for...
Again, I cannot believe that John Fetterman is the voice of reason on the Democratic Party, but here we are. I remember something in his campaign. I don't know if it was just Republican propaganda or what, but he got a chunk of his brain or something taken out. I'm not entirely sure how true that is. I haven't actually looked into it, but I know that everyone was like, no, it's not going to be him that's running. It's not going to be him that's actually in charge. It's going to be his wife, et cetera, et cetera. And he had to pull out a shirt that said John Fetterwoman and crap like that. And now we're at the point where he's just the voice of reason on the Democratic Party, and it's crazy.
For being here. Do you expect the Department of Homeland Security to be forced to shut down on Friday? Are you going to vote to fund DHS?
No, I absolutely would expect that it's going to shut down. I know that we, the Democrats, we provided, I think it was 10 kinds of basic things. And then the Republican pushed back quickly, saying that that's like a Christmas wish list and that they're non-starters. I truly don't know what specifically are the Democrats' red lines, that it has to be certainly not going to get all 10. But now, if I had to say now, they would probably expect that there is going to be a shutdown because things are just drowned down to committed to do that. And for me, it's always, as a Democrat, I've always been, just secure our border, deport all the criminals. And now I joined with Katie Britt to deliver the Lake.
By the way, the Democrats used to not be against securing the border. They used to be hard line on securing the border, hard line on deporting illegal immigrants, particularly the criminals. It was only when Trump got in charge and started saying that was a good idea that they flipped their stance on that, because they have to be against him. It's not that they actually think that. Most people, I think, would say that it's a good idea to secure the borders of the United States. Most people, I think, would say that it's a good idea to have proof of identification, like proof of citizenship, to vote in federal elections. I think most people would think that's a good idea, and it's not even really like infringing on anybody's rights. It's not racist. It's not bigoted in any way to do either of those things. They're against it because they're against Trump. That is what it is.
In bill now as well too. So for me, I think those are very fundamental things that most Americans signed up for, and that's what I'm going to come forward. And I hope it doesn't shut down, because we could all agree to focus on those things, and that's where I'm going to be and where my vote's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's going to impact TSA, people's travel, certainly under the Department of Homeland Security. It's going to impact FEMA. What I don't understand, Senator, is why it is so difficult to get the SAVE Act into the portfolio and onto the floor. What's wrong with having an ID to vote? Chuck Schumer last week said...
What's wrong is the majority of the Democratic Party's voter base is illegal immigrants, which they've... imported into the country and placed in strategic sanctuary city positions to keep their power in the Congress.
If the SAVE Act even attempts to get to the Senate...
If you think about it for even like 1 second, it all makes sense. I mean, come on.
It is dead on arrival. Why?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, well, multiple things. Now, I travel air 49 out of 52 years a week. So I'm going to see a lot of TSA people, and they're not going to get paid. And now I can't have an answer for them. Other one, it's just basic politics right now. I think every American deserves to be paid for the work that they've done. And I refuse. I don't want to jump back into that. I've been a Democrat that refused to shut our government down last year. I mean, that's real lives. And they're not wealthy if they're TSA folks. They're allowing us to fly safe here in America. And that's part of that conversation now, too.
All right, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm on the side of TSA, because I go through the airport a lot for work, and I hate it. I hate all of them. And the younger they are, the stupider they are, and I'm not even going to lie about that. I'm just going to keep it real. But also, they definitely need to get paid. I mean, come on.
And now, me as a Democrat, I do not believe that it's unreasonable or to show ID just to vote. And I remind everybody that less than a year ago in Wisconsin, they added that to the Constitution by a 63%, passing, to put that in the Constitution that you have to show ID to vote. And
yeah, sounds to me like a definitely not a party issue. It's definitely a bipartisan issue to have voter ID. And definitely the majority of Americans support it, so I don't know what we're even doing here. Oh, wait, no, the Democrats know damn well that if they vote for this, then they would never win another election, because the majority of their voter base are either illegal aliens or people that think illegal aliens, or people that think nobody can be illegal on stolen land. I want to remind everybody, or at least all my viewers anyway, that it's not stolen, it was conquered, and that's not the same thing.
And they also elected a very, very liberal justice into their Supreme Court. So it's not a radical idea for regular Americans to show your ID to vote. And it's absolutely, those things are not Jim Crow or anything. Of course, that's part of an awful, awful legacy of our nation. for so long ago. But where we are now, trying to find a way forward, just trying to call balls and strikes, seeing what's unreasonable, hopefully we don't have to do, and pay the TSA people and everyone, secure our border, and focus on deporting all of those.
Is this guy hiding in a bathroom in Iraq? What the fuck is that? Where the hell is he at? Like, what, that he has to have a shitty brick wall next to another brick wall that's equally shitty, just painted white? Like, is he in the dungeon of his house? Is this where his wife keeps him? Are you okay, Mr. Fetterman? Do you need help?
Kinds of criminals, wherever they are.
Look at this.
That's the guy that votes for that and supports that as a Democrat, and I don't ever want to vote to shut our government down again.
Right. And you are very much where the people are. Look, that's what most people would like to see. Prioritize the criminals. Take the criminals out of the country who are here illegally but are also committing crime.
Yeah, the problem is it's very hard for them to distinguish who is the violent criminal and who isn't, because local police departments and local authorities are not actually allowed to help the federal government because they're being told to stand down. And that's what's causing ICE to go door to door instead of just going to the house that they need to go to catch the guy.
But, I mean, is there any other way to view the fact that Democrat leadership refused to have ID to vote? Is there any other way to read it other than they want illegals to vote? I mean, can you read it any other way?
No, you can't.
Well, I mean, for me, the Save Act is not going to pass because of the filibuster, because they would need at least 7 or 8 Democratic votes to pass that. And now remember also, all the Democrats, all we wanted to eliminate the filibuster, except for it was Manchin and Cinnamon. They wanted to eliminate the filibuster, and now our party loves the filibuster. And then I do think think the filibuster is a good thing, and it does force us to work together overall.
Right. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I will say this as a Democrat, I do not believe it's radical or extreme to just produce ID to vote overall.
Exactly. All right.
It's not at all, unless you're a racist Democrat that thinks it's racist to expect black people to know how to get ID, and then that's a problem because for whatever reason they seem to think super low of these minority classes, and Republicans tend to think that they are just the same as everybody else, which is weird, I know, but yeah, that's just kind of the reality.
Senator, I got to get your take on Iran. This upcoming week, President Trump will be meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What do you want to see happen here? There are reports tens of thousands of citizens have been killed at the hands of the Khomeini regime.
Yeah, heartbreaking. Their region, just absolutely massacred thousands and thousands and thousands of their own young people. Now, as I was the only Democrat that actually cheered and pushed to strike their nuclear facilities last year, and they were absolutely successful. And we can't ever allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb. And now, just a couple days ago on my socials, I put out, I don't think, and I see any value in these kinds of negotiations. And Iran just declared saying, hey, absolutely, we're going to continue to enrich uranium. And that's their goal. They want to go back to try to acquire a nuclear weapon. And that's why I would be a no on the Iranian Powers Act, because the president they should have the freedom to have another surgical strike to make sure they do not acquire those kinds of nuclear weapons.
So well said. Yep. So well said. Senator.
Yep, 1,000%. See, for those of you guys that didn't know, Iran had nuclear weapons that were enriched to like 60 or 70%. And you need to enrich it to about 90% in order to create a nuclear bomb. The problem is, which their cover was the fact that they wanted nuclear energy. The problem is you only need to enrich uranium to about 3 to 5% to create nuclear energy. You don't need to enrich it to 60%. And if you enrich it anywhere past 60%, the only reason would be to create a nuclear weapon. Okay, so that's just kind of where we're fucking at with that. And the U.S. went in and told them no. And that's just what it is. So, boy. That's the Democrats trying to hold the government hostage again. All the links for everything will be in the description. Just check it out. If you like it, give me a like. Comment what you like about it. Hit subscribe. All the things. I'll see you guys on Wednesday with some more fun things to talk about. All right, bye.